Interesting story coming out of, I think it's Arizona. Let me look at this here. Check it out real quick. Man, woman who witnessed fatal I-10 crash says truck driver, his final move saved them.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually, the truckers really sounds like a hero. Arizona. So what happened was, let me just read it here real quick. It says Arizona Department of Public Safety said a tractor trailer car hauler, he was a car hauler, right? Was traveling eastbound near Valencia Road when he blew a tire. And I'm talking steer tire. Okay. Mm-hmm. It says the vehicle struck a guardrail, rolled into the median, and caught fire. Now, the truck driver, he died at the scene. I don't have his name. But he honestly did what most good truckers would do. And I'll explain in a second. It says, here, let me move this mic up here a little bit. It says, we were right at the tire. Oh, Amanda and Raymond Cota, C-O-T-A, said they were headed home when they saw the tractor trailer's front passenger side tire blow.
So the one right near him?
Yeah, they were literally, let me see it again. It said they were headed home. I believe it says we were right at the tire of the semi. So one of the scariest things for any trucker, and I would tell you it's very rare, but there's quite a bit of truckers at the same time that has had this happen. Mm-hmm. I've got video of tractor trailers that blow their tire, and you got to kind of steer into it. But here's what happened. It says we were right there at the tire of the semi. It was right by our driver's window when it popped. So now, I guess the trucker knew somebody was to their right. It says Amanda said, and then he just started veering towards us. Obviously, that's the way the tire is going to take you, right? It says, and I saw him grab the wheel to correct the blowout. So truckers going down the interstate, tire blows. There's a car on the right side of him. It's the passenger side. And he must have grabbed that with all his might, thinking, no, I don't want to, destroy a family or whatever the case is, whatever was on his mind. Mm-hmm. I guarantee he was fighting that.
Right.
It says, she said the driver steered the truck away from the vehicle and into the concrete median where it immediately caught fire. Exactly. It says the truck just started flipping after that. So, boom, lost control, hits the concrete median. I'm guessing one of the Jersey barriers, and he just started rolling and he was on fire. It was probably just a mess coming apart. It says the driver, who was the only person in the truck, died at the scene. DPS has not identified the driver as of Thursday night. The Codas, who have 3 children, believe the outcome would have been different if the driver had not steered away from them. And I would agree with them. If you know what would have happened.
Right. If he wouldn't have steered it away, he would have just took that whole car out, and possibly even more if there was more people next to them or behind them. You know what I mean? Because if they were right next to his tire, he knew they were in the car, but behind them, it doesn't say whether or not there was more people behind him. And if he would have let it go in that direction, there could have been a pile up, in a matter of speaking, of more people.
Yeah. She said it just it was, when something like this happens, there isn't like this, okay, let's pause. What move should we make?
There's no time for thinking.
Right. She's literally looking to her left, and she could see him probably grabbing for dear life on that wheel and really holding on, and his last moment alive. It says the lanes were closed for quite a long time. They had to manage the fire. It says she said all she could do is think about not making it home to those 3 babies. So And she said she would love to thank the truck driver's family. I guess probably for what kind of a man he was. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really touching. You know what I mean? It was, something that, I guess, and I'm going to tell you something truthfully. If that's the kind of truck driver you are, then you already have it planned. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, if you're a guy that is sleeping in your house and you have it planned that if somebody breaks in, you're going to shoot them, then you probably will shoot somebody. You have it. But if you're a trucker and you have it planned that if anything ever happens, I'm going to sacrifice my own life, I'm not going to take out families. Mm-hmm. I will almost guarantee you that man had it in his heart before that ever blew out that he knew that someday this could happen, and he grabbed onto that wheel for dear life because some truckers, well, I'm not saying some truckers would have done the opposite. I mean, I have to believe in my heart that most truckers would have done the same thing. Would you not agree?
I would hope so. And I think that they would rather take their chances going into the cement wall or the barrier versus to the other side that would have families and multiple vehicles there. And if this family, the Kodas, if they had small children, like it's sounding like, there was probably car seats in the back seat or something to the effect of where they knew that they had different aged children back there. So I mean, it just,
yeah, I don't. The kids weren't with.
No, they weren't with. But we don't take car seats out the cars. You just take the kids out.
Yeah, you're right. So the trucker might have seen the car seats. That, I mean, makes it worse because you don't even know what's in that car seat.
So if they could have noticed, if he was paying attention and seen that, some drivers do, some don't. They don't pay attention to those kinds of things. So, if he did notice it, that might have been why he was adamant on not going in that direction. He knew that there was more involved and more involved in going to the other side.
So, you drivers out there, pray for the family, and gosh, I feel bad for the whole situation, but at the same time, he really, we've got the industry. Sometimes we look bad, truckers sometimes look bad, but this guy sure made truckers look amazing, with that story. And I hope that story honestly gets all the way out there. I know our audience is hearing it, but I hope it gets further. The news, it was on the news out there. And I really hope that, everybody can see really the good side of trucking. And this really is where truckers shine,
It's about time we look good.
Moving on. Let's take a quick break. Excuse me. Let's take a quick break. Ruthann, one of our sponsors, Truck Parking Club. Mm-hmm. They are, I think they just went over 5,000 locations. If you're a truck driver and you need, and I understand some truck drivers don't want to pay for parking, and I get that because I never had to either. But in the world we live in now, people and lots and stuff are so against big trucks being in their parking lots and all this other stuff, and sometimes it's really hard. Sign up is free, and you may find yourself on a load somewhere and you don't have time to find parking. You're running out of hours. Mm-hmm. You're signed up. It's boom, in a click. You at least have a quick parking space. Guys, if not any other reason, use them for even in the pinch. And plus they also have monthly spaces. If you live in states like Jersey and big cities where there's no parking, they actually have a lot of competition now to where the prices are going to be pretty good if you're looking for a monthly place to park.
Plus they're expanding. They're still expanding.
And so a second sponsor, Hey Bubba.
Hey Bubba.
And, Hey Bubba. What can you say about Hey Bubba? You're talking. It's
just the fun of saying it. Hey Bubba.
Exactly. Bubba.ai, the best AI dispatcher out there. Bubba. Hey Bubba, find me a load from Dallas to Atlanta, and when you get that load, I need another load that day going from Atlanta to Nebraska, Lincoln, and Bubba can literally find it and negotiate the rates with the broker, book it without you having to stop or do anything. Right. You literally just on your headset, Hey Bubba, and Bubba's booking your loads. Download Bubba.ai, and plus also they have a 90-day guarantee, or try it for free. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it. But I promise you, that's why they're giving it to you for free, because once you have Bubba.ai, Bubba.ai really is going to find you loads and book loads, especially if you're a one truck Chuck owner operator. You now just have a dispatch at your beck and call.
They also have some larger companies now that are going to start using them, or have started using them, because of the fact that they're so beneficial. And it's the pre-routing that's such a nice benefit also, because you already know where you're going from point A to point B. It's nice to have that pre-route done.
Yeah. So anyways, check out Bubba.ai, and also check out truckparkingclub.com. All right, Ruthann, we are back. I wanted to talk to you guys today about something interesting, very interesting.
Highly interesting.
Oh, this is super interesting. I did not know. Now, we talk here a lot about drugs in the industry and the clearinghouse. In fact, the clearinghouse has really cleared out quite a bit of truckers.
Yes, it did.
I mean, I'm talking, I don't even know the number. Last time I checked, it was like 100,000, literally. And it's such a difficult task. And I've been talking to drivers. It's such a difficult task to even understand how the program works, what they call the SAP, SAP, the Substance Abuse Program. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Before I get off key, such an amazing program. Walmart, of all people, have a program where if you are hooked on something, a drug, or you have, you're a relapse, or whatever the case is, they have like a tell on yourself program. Interesting. Let me see what I dug up some on it, and I'd never even heard of this before. It's an amazing program that they do. Let's see, here's the results. It says Walmart has what's called a voluntary self-disclosure policy for associates struggling with substance abuse. Literally, it's like you tell on yourself. It says employees who come forward and admit to a drug problem before an incident occurs or a drug test is requested. So you can't just go, if a random comes up, you can't go, oh, I'm pulling the alarm, ding, 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 ding.
Right. Yeah, it has to be before a situation arises.
Right. You can't use it to stop what the inevitable. So it says, if you have this addiction problem or any kind of a drug problem, and you literally come forward. Okay, it said, let me read this part again. It says, employees who come forward and admit to a drug problem before an incident occurs or a drug test is requested will not be terminated. You will not be fired. You won't be fired.
I think that's great.
I think it's amazing, honestly, because they're like at least trying to give somebody a second chance, okay? It says, provided they have been with the company for at least 180 days. So you can't come in day 5 and go, hey, by the way, you hired me the other day, I haven't got my first paycheck, I'm on drugs. It don't work that way. So as long as you've been there half a year, 6 months is 180 days. It says the program requires adherence to strict conditions. Here's what's eligible. It says you must have been employed for the last 180 days, no prior incident. You cannot use this as an excuse after a drug test or being involved in a workplace accident. So if you're trucking, guys, if you're a trucker, and Walmart really pays their employees well, especially their truckers. If you're a trucker and you get into an accident, obviously, the first thing they do is send you for a drug screen.
Yeah.
You can't pull the lever and go, I want my get out of jail free card, because this is pretty much what this is. It's like a do-over, a get out of jail free. You can't do that if something happens. This is why it's a voluntary disclosure policy. You must realize, listen, I need help. And this is what this is about. It says recovery plan. You will be required to seek counseling, sign a last chance agreement. So this is your last chance. They're giving you a last chance, and submit to periodic drug screening for 12 months. Okay. I'm guessing maybe you have to go and jump into, I don't know that you, in fact, I know you don't have to. So but they're still going to be inside the company, drug screen you. All right. So this is what's beautiful about this. And if you really think about this, if you're working for Walmart, and most of these guys already know this, but if you're working for Walmart and you realize, I got a problem, I fell off the wagon. Let's say maybe you've been clean for 10 years. You start working for Walmart, right? And let's just say a year goes by and you fall off the wagon. I'm serious now. Mm-hmm. You fall off the wagon and you realize, I need help. Right. So this would be the time to do that. Maybe something happened. Something bad happened in your life and you start using again. Maybe you're depressed. Whatever.
Well, if you notice, the fact that you have to be employed for half the year.
Right.
That's 6 months. They already know that they did a pre-employment drug screen with you. They already know that you were clean when you walked in that door.
Good point.
So the fact that they're willing to give you that chance, it's because they already know before you came working there, you were clean. And while you were there, barring any randoms or anything like that, you have been more than likely a good employee. And they feel as though you're worth that shot to give them that second chance because of the fact that it's not like they didn't hire you already knowing that you were doing any form of drugs, because, it's kind of you're not able to do that truthfully. Something's going to show up.
Yeah. And we've dealt with that. I had our niece. Mm-hmm. All right. My niece, I'll tell the story. My niece was highly addicted to heroin. And, we can blame her scumbag boyfriend, which he was a scumbag. I don't mind saying that. Mr. Scumbag, but he was a scumbag. He was pretty much into drugs, and, she literally had scholarships to go to college, all this stuff, and got mixed up. But you can't blame him because she still made the choice.
Right. She did. So she made the choice, and they started out with weed first, right, and worked their way up.
Yeah. It just angers me when I remember this. You know what I mean? Because she was such a good girl.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she gets addicted, and they needed help. And so we got together, my sister and you and everybody, and we paid she was in Allentown, Pennsylvania at the time. And we put her on a plane, brought her here, got her, in a rehab. And believe it or not, praise the Lord, that was 10 years ago? Yeah. She hasn't used. Wow. Yeah, she was up to 7. Now, this is really weird because I never understood heroin, but she was up to 7 bags a day. And she told us it was like $3 to $7 for a bag at the time. And she was snorting it, not shooting it. But she was highly addicted to it. When she was in rehab, she took like 6 Vicodins or 5 Vicodins, and the doctor literally said, leave her alone. That's like baby aspirin to her at this point. And she would, it was just insane. But she got off of it, and praise the Lord, she hasn't been on it that we know since she got married, and, just turned her life around. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, if you're out there and you have a problem right now and you are working for Walmart, the best thing about this is you are not going to be registered in the clearinghouse. You're not going to go into the SAP program because Walmart is not going to do that to you. They're not going to report this because in order for them to report, you would have had to fail a drug screen, right? That's true. And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, they're not giving you it because you're reporting yourself. So that's how they're able to get that slide by, I guess is a good way to put it. That's the way they're able to get that initiative for the program started.
And I think it's a once and done thing. So it's not like you get a couple at bats here. All right. This is pretty much, if you fall off the wagon again, obviously you're going to.
That's different. That's why you signed that paperwork. They're saying that there was a title to the paperwork that you said, because that way there is no, it's a once and done. There is no extra that you can do.
Yeah, I agree. So the last part, it says consequences: failure to follow the recovery plan or passing subsequent tests will result in termination. So you've got a last chance, but at the same time, it is your last chance. Mm-hmm. And some probably won't make it. Some probably will make it. But my message to anybody that's driving for Walmart right now is get help. You really can. And for all you trucking companies that are hearing this, I know there's probably some people going, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I think it's actually good. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're a trucking company, you may have guys that are literally driving down the road right now, and most of your big companies do have guys right now as we speak, because I know a trucking company right now that has 500 trucks, and they have at least 2 to 4 failures a month in just pre-employment. Okay. Mm-hmm. I was talking to the director the other day. So it's obvious, guys, that you do have people in your organization right now that may have been under the radar and have never come up in a random, and it makes them braver and braver. If you initiated the same plan of voluntary disclosure, okay, to where they're guaranteed not to be terminated, that they have to get help. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. You might be saving yourself a major lawsuit someday, because that's the guy that may go down the road stoned out of his gourd and kill a bunch of people. Look at Jack Satterfield. I remember that name to this day. Okay. I guess he was an alcoholic, would be my guess, because you go out and do tequila shots and beer and everything like that and then drive down the road. You got to have a problem risking, something to that effect. So just imagine if there would have been a program and he would have volunteered, that there would have been 3 lives that didn't die, and he may have got help and been off the wagon. But the bottom line is, and again, I know there's people out there right now going, that's BS. They're never going to get help. Yeah. But there are a lot of people. Look at my niece, 10 years without, being on heroin. Heroin's a pretty nasty drug to fight.
I would say it is. I mean, honestly, you don't just get addicted to a drug because it's easy to stay off of it. You know what I mean? There's a reason why you get addicted. It's because your body's fighting you from not taking it. So,
what do you think about that? If other trucking companies would initiate the same exact plan, you may save
when
lives.
When I first thought of it, I at first, I guess I'm one of those people that, they always say about the 3 strikes you're out thing. With me, with drugs, I always think a lot differently, because there's always been so many incidences where there's been more harm done in that particular category, drugs or alcohol, in the trucking industry, and it's so damaging. But the more I thought about it, with this particular idea that Walmart's offering, like I said, you came on a board not high, not having drugs in your system. So I know there's some drugs that get out of your system quickly, so you could have an addiction for it. But the fact that it's offered to you and that you're going to the job, you're clean when you walk in, and you're willing to take the chance with a random or anything else, I think that in all, I think that it's a better benefit, whether it be a person that's going to be getting out of the trucking industry, period, down the road, because maybe after they get cleaned up and all, and they only are in the industry for another year or two and decide, you know what, I'm not going to stay in it, they might get out. Who cares? You know, they do. But if it's someone that's wanting to stay in the industry and it's something that they've been battling, the fact that they're wanting to go into either way, it's showing
initiative.
It's showing that they don't want to have a life like that. And that's what I think is better, because no matter what you do after, and I guess that's what I was trying to really get to, no matter what you're deciding to do after you get clean, the fact that you've recognized that you have an issue and you're wanting to get clean, and that Walmart's offering that, and then I'm sure there's something that you have to do after to stay in the program. You know, once you go through the whole program itself, Walmart.
So do you agree or not?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm taking that whole long way around.
Yeah, you definitely went.
I did the 5K.
You went on your own route there. You went off route. But anyways, yeah. So you do agree.
Stupid GPS took me the wrong way.
Okay. So, but you do agree that it's a good program.
I do agree it's a good program.
You know, and I'll be honest with you, just real quick. At first I'm going, wow, that's crazy, right? But then I thought, now wait a second. How many trucking companies right now with 500, 1,000, 2,000 trucks that have people that are going down the road that are afraid they're going to get a random and just might be willing to, you know, come forward and say, hey, I'm one of those guys, please help me. Guess what? Whether you do have a program or not, you still got people that are on drugs in your in your trucking company, and this is a good way to help these guys. Okay, avoid. You know, and in fact, I would almost think your insurance company might be going, this is a good thing. These guys are trying to identify this before it becomes a problem and something happens. Anyways, we'll maybe hear a lot about this now that we just opened up this, because I've never heard of this program, and I'll guarantee you 99% of our audience never heard of this either. And I will also guarantee all these trucking companies that follow us, they're probably going, wow, never heard of that before. I know when my buddy failed, or he didn't fail it, but he worked for Pepsi. Pepsi literally, he told me back then, he said, listen, I know guys that have failed it 2 and 3 times and Pepsi gives them chance. It was like, this was Pepsi back in the day. This was like 30, 40 years ago. Pepsi might not be doing that anymore. But at one time, they would, you know, rehabilitate these guys. So we'll see what happens in the future. Moving on. Okay, real quick. You had something, and I want to make it a quick segment real quick. Blah, blah, blah. About a broker thing.
Yes, I do. On Thursday, this past Thursday, which I could pull it up somewhere.
You got to talk into the mic, though, because you're going to literally kill the podcast.
So on the 14th, the Supreme Court had a ruling that did not shield brokers from companies that are what's the term, negligent with their hiring, and they fall underneath a safety rating of it's a safety rating where it's not where you're kind of like not a good one, not a bad one, but you're So basically what's going on is there was a case that was brought out where a gentleman was in a car accident with a tractor trailer, and it was a load being hauled for C.H. Robinson to get to its destination. And the carrier of this load
has a bad safety rating.
It's they weren't like really bad, but they weren't really good. So what happened was when they had this accident, he lost, it's called a conditional safety rating. So this gentleman that was in this accident lost his leg, and the gentleman felt, hey, the broker should be just as liable as the carrier for this incident for personal injury. So the Supreme Court ruled and agreed, yes, So any broker that is going to hire a company with a conditional safety rating or a poor safety rating and is in an accident,
they're going to be accountable?
The broker is now going to be accountable for the personal injury regulations or laws that fall within that state on their guidelines.
Interesting. So basically, they're really tasked with just checking their safer score more than anything, probably.
Well, and I agree with this. First of all, you're going to hire someone to draw, 40,000 pounds of your product, and you're not going to care if they're really a good safety rating company and what kind of stats they hold, and not care if your freight gets damaged in the meantime because they're not taking care of their equipment or they have a poor safety rating. I mean, I just don't, it sounds kind of weird to me.
I'll be honest with you. As I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so now the brokers are now tasked to make sure that they reject loads or reject carriers that have poor safety ratings, right? Mm-hmm. Which is going to make trucking companies even tighter on their hiring.
It's going to make...
Go ahead.
It might not make them, because sometimes it's not the drivers that are bad, it's the companies that are bad. So what it's going to end up being, it's going to make it all, the company and themselves, be tighter on themselves for getting the freight.
It's going to make the companies super tight on hiring. I'm going to tell you that right now, because now instead of hiring a guy that's got 3 speeding tickets or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. See, these guys, when they hire somebody that has any kind of issues with insurance or safety, they get dinged on their safe score. And so their safe score goes down when they're hiring people that are not good, truthfully. And so now what's going to happen is your drivers that are getting too many tickets or getting into accidents or having all kind of problems, they're going to get pushed even more out the industry. So, truck drivers, be prepared. The regulations have been getting tighter and tighter over the years. This whole industry has been like squeezing truckers. You guys literally are pretty much going to have to start being more perfect. And I mean that. I'm serious. You know what? If you're in a 65 mile an hour zone, set your speed at 65. Seriously. If you're in a 70, set it at 70. If you're coming into a town and it's 35 mile an hour, do 35. Because your guys are getting to the point where, honestly, one ticket's going to hurt you. I mean it.
It's gonna get more damaging.
Well, now that they're taking people like C.H. Robinson, the biggest broker in the world, and telling them that now you got to start really sifting through your carriers, they're now going to start rejecting more carriers, which is going to make those carriers go, we can't get loads because of this driver here. They're going to start firing drivers because they can't get loads.
Right. It's what it's going to end up coming down to, because of the fact that if a carrier is depending on only brokered loads,
yes, exactly,
then yes, it's gonna be
insane.
Either the company's gonna go out of business, or they're gonna watch what they're hiring, or make sure their equipment is upstanding equipment so that there's no issues there. I mean, there's gonna be a lot going on.
I'll tell you what it will do, though. It'll make driver wages go up, which is a good thing for drivers, because the good drivers are going to be in more demand than ever.
Yeah.
And so I talked to a driver the other day. Literally, he called in and we were talking. He had 4 speeding tickets in the last year. And he said, I have not been able to get a job anywhere.
Duh.
I said, well, did you try Chicago? He said, yep. He said, nobody. He said, I can't. And 2 of them were 15s.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he had 2 15s and 2 9 mile over speed. And he said, I had a bad year. Well, dude, you're doing 15 over.
A bad year.
Well, he said the one was in his personal car, and he's a volunteer firefighter. So he said he got on his way to a fire, he got pulled over by a cop. Well, guys, guess what? That doesn't give you the right to do 15 over and drive unsafe to get to an emergency. You get into an accident, now you're the cause of the accident. So guess what? It's guys like that are screwed. They are not going to get jobs. Guys, protect your CDL. I'm telling you, it's really like a diploma or a degree. It really is.
It is. It's
respect that CDL. I'm serious. I tell these guys all the time, do not crap on your CDL. Do not do it. And when you're getting caught with speeding tickets, you're crapping on your CDL. If you're running stop signs, you're crapping on your CDL. I'm only saying this to these guys because I want them now more than ever to start being cautious. I'm serious.
True. I'm not.
I talk
right
to
there with
drivers
you.
all the time. They go, I won't drive in a truck unless it's got 70 mile an hour or 75. I won't do one unless it's wide open. Well, you guys are the ones getting tickets. Seriously. Be careful, guys. It ain't worth it.
It's not worth
The
it.
future is looking real tight. And, you know, in the last 20 years, the regulations have been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And here we are now, right? And that's a game changer. When the brokers now have to start saying, okay, we're checking you guys out. And I'm going to tell you something. Your safe score is so important these days. Mm-hmm. And these guys that have bad records, woo, I'm telling you, it's getting tough. It really is.
That it is.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Do you have the word of the day?
I do.
You do? Mm-hmm. Well, let's hear it, girly girl.
All right. I'm going to tell you, this one definitely surprised me.
Cool.
I didn't know this is what it meant. I'm going to tell you that right now.
All right.
You ready?
Yep.
Woodshed.
Did you say woodshed?
Woodshed.
Woodshed.
Taking them to the woodshed?
Yep.
For a beating?
Woodshed.
Yeah. I mean, what I know of that term is when somebody's about to punish somebody. That's what they used to do. They'd take them to the woodshed and give them a whipping.
Or, I mean, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've also heard of, like, up north, a woodshed is where they stored their wood.
Yeah.
Well, where it was cured, ready for the...
And that's where you'd go for your whipping, the woodshed. That's what that meant.
That's not what this is.
That's not it?
Nope.
Okay, what is it?
To practice a musical instrument.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally threw me. Didn't know it. Used in a sentence. A musician who woodsheds several times a day will soon become a master of her instrument.
Wow.
Never knew woodshed meant to practice an instrument. Totally thought it was for a beating.
Something new on me.
Yep.
Guys, when's the Houston Truck Show? It's in July, right at the end?
Yeah, it's like...
We'll get them the dates on the next podcast, but we want to start advertising it. We're going to try to be there.
It's like the 21st and 22nd.
That's Jesus' biggest show. So, guys, try to plan on being at the Houston Truck Show this year in Houston, Texas, at the end of July. Ruthann, we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.